Welcome back to True Story with John Gibson. Today we have two very exciting guests joining the show. So previously on the show we've had Cung Lee, and today we have the opportunity to meet the women in his life. We have Shemia, his mother-in-law, and Sunshine, his wife. Good afternoon, ladies. Thank you so much for joining the show.
Not a problem.
Thank you for having us.
Glad to be here.
Thank you.
Absolutely, my pleasure. So I'm a supporter of a lot of your social media, your Instagram posts, those things, and kind of shared previously on the show a little bit about some of the exorcisms and these amazing experiences you've had. So with that, I kind of want to start with Mama over here and speak to you, Shemia, and just learn a little bit about, first and foremost, your background, like how you became a shaman, and then what led you to this journey. This is so amazing.
Well, my mother was a shaman.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. So this is in the family. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And then I became a shaman after my mother passed.
I see. So, I mean, is it something, and please forgive me, I'm so ignorant to this, but I guess it's something that you grew up in, and then I guess, how do you, what's the pursuit like? How do you become a shaman?
Well, it's just, I go out and I help anyone I can that needs help, and I don't charge.
Yeah, he said that. Yeah,
I do not charge.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if they need help, I'm there to help.
I feel like, and I don't know the number, but I feel like previously Cung shared a number that was just amazing with me. Like you've helped perform or, assist in hundreds, I don't know, several hundreds.
I've performed over 400 exorcisms.
That's amazing. That is amazing. So I guess with that too, and I'll say this for just everybody, everybody's context and all, you identify as like a Christian, correct?
Yes.
Right. And I just only say that just because I don't want people to feel like, I want everybody to open this and join this conversation objectively. Yeah. And I don't want anyone just to think like, ooh, this feels like supernatural or weird, or, it's like, you can be a person of faith and still like sort of kind of confront and discuss these things. And so I just wanted to put that out there.
Okay. Absolutely.
So if I may, just for a moment, before we dig into kind of the nitty gritty, I want to speak to Sunshine as well. So, you met and you married the man. How did you bring him into this world? So how did this sort of happen? How did you start exposing him and sharing sort of, hey, by the way, I come from a pretty special family?
He's a very special guy. Yeah. Besides that,
I took him to an exorcism one time, so that kind of
did it.
Yeah.
But Cung, he's a very spiritual man. Anyways, everybody knows him as a spiritual assassin. He's always been very religious, and we just had that connection immediately. He's my best friend. We could talk about everything. So we talk about the spiritual realm as well, and then his friend, whenever contacted him about a spiritual battle they were having, and my mother, we all kind of jumped in the car and went, and my mother performed an exorcism on his fiance, and it was the first one in the books.
Yeah, and no looking back, I guess. Yeah. So I guess from that perspective, how do people, when they're in crisis, like find you? Well, how do they know to find you?
Well, my page.
Well, right now, yes, on the page, but before, it's just, and the people in the community, we're, from a smaller town, obviously, or
word of mouth,
pretty much. Yes. And then, in California, we helped out the Ghost Adventures with Zach Bagans, that Ghost Adventures.
Very exciting.
Yeah, that was cool. Right, seeing Elk Grove. That was
they
really
found
cool.
that we got rid of it.
And just through connections, networking. I mean, and you find people with spiritual battles, and Cong's friends, and we're always out to help.
Yeah, I think it's amazing, and it's very, as somebody who follows your social media and stuff too, it's very apparent that you're coming from you want to be helpful. You're coming from a very genuine perspective, and I really appreciate that. So kind of maybe back to Shemia a little. So when did you first perform your first exorcism?
I was probably about 10 years old.
Wow, you were a baby. Yeah. My gosh, my daughter's 13. I can't imagine. Wow.
Yeah.
So 10 years old.
Yeah.
I know this probably sounds like a silly question, but like after that, did you feel like compelled to do this? Like this was your calling? Like you had a confidence in it? Really?
Yes, I did. I really felt like it was my calling.
Wow. Wow.
And that's one reason that I won't charge any money. I think that would cause me to lose the gift that God has gave me to help people.
Wow. That's amazing. Not a lot of people would take that perspective. I think that's really, really honorable. That's amazing. Wow. So as far as like, you know, I mean, I guess let me ask this. Maybe this is a good place to start. From just an exorcism perspective, are they all different, or can you go in and say, like, I know the formula is A, B, C, and this will work?
They're usually all different.
Wow. So
Yeah,
400 different total exorcisms.
Yeah.
Wow.
Totally different. Yeah.
So how do you do it? Yeah.
People get afflicted in different ways, you know.
I see. Now, do you feel like there's, and again, forgive me if it's a silly question, but is there like something people can do to help avoid this, stay spiritually safe and sound and have a, so what would you advise people?
Stay away from Ouija boards.
Okay. Number one, no Ouija board.
That's number one. And God Almighty is most important because he can get you through anything, you know.
Yeah.
And don't be afraid of the devil.
Don't be afraid.
I'm not.
Absolutely not. God before you, who can stand against you?
If God be for you, what can be against you?
Yeah. Yeah.
You really got to believe that.
Sorry, I missed that.
Yep, sorry. Siri said, sorry, I missed that. She wanted to hear that twice.
He doesn't like me.
Isn't that funny? You know, wow. You know, Cung warned me of that. I just got chills because Siri spoke up and my light twinkled just there. That was, ooh, yeah. I feel that. Hey, no, I like that though. That's good. Maybe that threatens something in the room here. That's good. Scare it off. Right. So 400 different scenarios. Is it something that takes like a physical toll on you? Like you've shared you have a bad back. Like if you had to perform an exorcism today, is it like are you wore out? Like, is it like a workout?
No, no, it's really easy for me.
Okay. So, wow.
Yeah, it's more of a spiritual thing, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So even though the back's hurting, it's a spiritual thing.
It's your faith, and you know, you're walking in the room with, I feel like, you know, you're covered with God and Jesus Christ and the might, you know, that power with you. So
that cloak, right?
Like an empty vessel.
I feel strong. Yeah.
Wow. Well, back to you. So what was it like? Your mom had been doing this since you were 10 years old. What so when you're in high school, did you tell your friends, like, so guess what happened this weekend?
No.
Honestly, no. I mean, remember, one, it's privacy for families and people, obviously.
Yes.
And I think that's asking for help is probably one of the hardest things you can do. So once you get that out of the way, you know, because people are afraid that they will seem crazy or people might think. But
I never tell who anyone is. Ever.
Yeah, you know,
but crazy people don't float.
That's right. I don't care how crazy you are, you will not float.
I know we're gonna get to that good stuff too. I want to pick your brain about all that stuff. So I actually want to say this too because I want to make sure I'm right. But I thought about you both this weekend. So I mentioned my daughter. My daughter lives in Nashville and I live in Chicago. So every 3 weekends I either fly or drive to her, and I drive through Kentucky. Are y'all from Kentucky? Is that what Cung told me?
I've lived there for the past 13 years. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. That's so I thought about you this weekend as I was driving through Kentucky, and I was like, I need to remember about that. But I only bring that up because, you know, to your point is that, you know, I was like, I wonder what that was like for her, knowing that this is real and you're in the Bible Belt. Because I grew up in Nashville and I don't know that I would have told anyone.
No, she didn't.
I did.
I get it.
I didn't. I'll be honest. I didn't. Because number one is privacy. Two, our culture is very private in general. About that. But spiritually wise, I mean, I was always talking, you know, about God and Jesus and going to church and always, you know, an active, but as in like, hey, what are you doing this weekend? I'm going to next to my mom, you know, no, no, that was not something I'd say, you know, or kind of brag about, but I think it's very awesome that she does it. And I think it's amazing that I get to be a part of it and to be able to help people just cleansings, or if she, you know, there you can cleanse your space, you know, like you get chilies and you saw, you know, like the light flickered and Siri was talking, like some people, you know, want their home blessed, you know, and some people follow the Catholic Church and some people do it, you know, like that. but she also does blessings like that and clearings.
Wow, that's awesome.
We're being a part of that is just kind of cool too, you know.
That is really cool. Yeah. So Shemia, do you feel like, I guess I feel like, and maybe this, again, another silly question, I don't know, but I just feel like you're helping people in a real, we'll say, time of crisis, right? It's like a time of trauma, crisis. Like, do people just like get totally attached to you afterward? I feel like I would never want you to go too far away.
Yes, I get that a lot.
I imagine though.
I stay in touch with most of the people that I've interacted with.
Yeah, I imagine, you know, because you're sharing this totally unique experience, but also like, hey, if that ever happened to me, I would be scared it would happen again. Maybe like I would not want to have you too far off my speed dial, I imagine.
Yeah, but it won't happen again. Trust me.
Really? Yeah. So perfect. Let me get into some of the cool questions, if you don't mind. So,
all right.
Exorcism, you know, I have a vision of things I've seen in movies and read maybe. So floating, you know, floating's real, these things?
It's real.
What are other characteristics that maybe manifest?
Climbing up the walls backwards.
The temperature in the room, it would get
drop,
colder.
get real cold.
Speaking a different language, they wouldn't
that
know.
They didn't know. Yeah.
Like their hair would grow, their fingernails can grow. What do you think of stench? The smell. There's usually like bad. Smell of rot. Or it smells really, really
bad.
Yeah.
Wow. All the things you hear. It's pretty close.
I mean, I think the closest depictation I would think would be The Exorcist, because it could all happen like that. Not that like you know what I mean, but like when she's in the bed and you see her convulsing, you see those things. You see, you know what I mean? You see levitation. You see, you know, like the vomiting and the cursing and speaking different language and the room temperature, the things moving around the room, all that will happen.
But see, I would always tell her when not to look.
Yeah, so important detailing there, I guess. So there's a certain point where you don't want to maybe establish eye contact or anything, because maybe you can be vulnerable. Wow.
Yes. Right. And you're not going in there to, you know, think what all that is about is to stop the exorcist from going on or to distract you. So they might tell you.
I just keep going.
Yeah. It makes his life a bit truth. So,
Wow. Now, I imagine, well, you guys have obviously shared this experience together too, and Cung as well and everything. So, you know, with that, what is it like afterwards? Do you guys just look at each other and go like, that was something crazy? Or are you able to just sort of process it and move on to the next?
The next one.
What do you say, Cung?
On to the next one.
Next one.
Yeah.
I'm ready for the next one.
Ready for the next one.
You guys got a fighter on your team now. I mean, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's fighting now, like with the
spiritual battle.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Wow, that's wild. So, is this something that you feel like will continue further generations down the line as well?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Wow. Yes. So I guess let me ask, is this something that you feel like was a gift you were born with, or it can be also nurtured and you can train maybe your child or grandchild in this as well? Is it something everybody could do, or you have to kind of...
have to be born with that ability, and then you can nurture it from there.
Yeah. Okay.
Because not everybody even believes to help somebody. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I make sure first. I make sure that the psychiatrist is seen. That I make sure that what I'm dealing with before I don't just go into everybody that says they are. You know, I have to know myself what's there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Cung had shared that detail too, which was really, again, when we were speaking, I was just impressed by that you were doing the due diligence, making sure someone wasn't in a mental health crisis. You did those things ahead of time, and I'm sure when someone's crawling up a wall backwards, you could tell there's probably no issue there. But
how crazy you are, you don't float.
Yeah. So I mean, your first exorcism's 10 years old. You deserve a movie. How did you have the courage to do that?
I wasn't afraid. I really wasn't afraid.
Wow.
I felt like I was going in there with God and what could harm me? Nothing.
Well, you should tell you. Well, you was loved too out of your heart because it was someone close to her, you know?
Yeah, it was someone very close to me.
So I think if you haven't, like that was the impulse was
I was going to save them no matter what. Yeah.
That's beautiful. Yeah, that's really sweet. Yeah. Wow. So I guess other than the exorcism things, and you know, is there anything else unique about that you practice as far as being a shaman? Like, is there other rituals or things that you do around that?
Yes, I do cleansing for people. I also, you know, help when they have like deaths, you know, losses in their life,
Oh,
because
really?
that's a real low point for people.
Yeah.
You know, so that's the time I really like to, you know, be there to help them, you know, as much as I can, you know.
Wow. So, do you have a desire to do this?
Who, me?
Yes. Like, I mean, is this something that you feel like you maybe have a calling for as well, or?
Oh,
or
absolutely. Yeah,
really?
absolutely. Oh yeah. I'm older now, and I think with age too, you know, and I'm grown up. I'm a big girl now, but when in high school, you're still finding out who you are as a person at the same time, while I was, you know, learning and nurturing my gifts. And then, yeah, absolutely. I think the best thing we could do for the world. You ever seen a movie like kind of like the TV show like Scared Straight or something? I think I think a lot of people should see the, you know,
dark side.
Unfortunately, for some people, seeing is believing, which I don't understand that aspect.
Well, they play with things they shouldn't play with. They shouldn't play with people.
Who really? I mean,
who should play with dead things?
Bloody Mary. Do you really want to see Bloody Mary pop up?
Right.
I mean, really? Yeah.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting because I just think religion to so many people is taboo. And this to me, because it's personal, right? So, you know, you think like, let's be respectful and keep that private. And I understand that notion, but I don't think that you should be ignorant to things either, you know? And and somebody should be, you should, and I'm not saying be open-minded to everything, but at least be aware, have some awareness. And if somebody is going through and something like this traumatic in their lives to where they're being possessed, right, and needs an exorcism, you know, it's important to at least have a resource. And you know, and again, you can't, you know, it's just, again, you can't like expose people to these things without having these discussions. And hey, in full transparency, like I said when I spoke with Cung, I'm fascinated with this stuff. And this is about you, this is not about me, but just to kind of help provide some context too. You know, I'm an orphan and I grew up in the foster care system, and my father passed away when I was about 3.5. And my whole life, I talked to that man before I knew what praying was, before I knew what God, before I ever got baptized. I just knew I could, you know, have some discussion with that man. So I always had a faith and a spirituality. And then I found Christianity and these things as a teenager, way later. But I say that to say that I believe, you know, I have a faith that is open to those things, and I am fascinated by it. You know, it scares me. And if it scares me, maybe it's real. Right?
Yeah, it does.
Yes. So enough about me, but I hope that does kind of help like share a little bit about like why this is so fascinating to me. And I think that it's important that people open themselves up to learning more.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
I agree with that.
So really silly question, I guess I'll ask you both. What is maybe the scariest thing you've seen through an exorcism experience? And then what is maybe the most rewarding thing you've seen from an exorcism?
Well, I can tell you the most rewarding thing is for it to be gone, for me to get rid of it, cast it out, and just to see the relief and knowing that person knows that it's no longer there. That to see them feel safe for once, you know, to give them their home back.
Yeah.
That's important to me.
Yeah, the safety, right? The security. That's So can you think offhand maybe the scariest thing? I mean, you're going pretty confident. It sounds like you don't get scared much, but what would scare me the most?
I didn't.
Okay, yeah, perfect.
Something happened to her.
Okay, yeah. Well, I mean, my faith is strong. Don't get me wrong.
But I told her not to.
But when I was younger, I mean, and I was able to accompany my mother, and I had an experience which I don't mind to share with you and everyone. I went in an exorcism with my mother, and you know, I had some under my belt, and so I was like, okay. I always listen to my mother, but curiosity killed the cat, literally, because you hear all this noises and you hear all this, and she's always like, look down, don't stop reading the Bible, and don't look up, and if it talks to you, don't talk back, don't look at it, don't listen to it. She said, if it scares you, close your eyes. If you don't like what it says, close your ears. And she's like, just keep reading. So I'm like, okay, I usually always do that, but this one time, literally. She went to the bathroom, and there was a man slithering on the table like a snake, but he's like 260, no joke, it's like 260, and I'm still like a teenager. So I'm sitting behind this table, like, number one, this he's like a snake, and he was like, I have the Bible right here, and I think he wanted to get in my peripheral, where like, so I would have to look, but he was saying things that only I would know that I had thought. So when they say the devil mixes lies with the truth, and I think it was if someone would have lost their mother or someone, it could mix that in there, and then you'd stop and look up and be like, Mom, because the voice, so that's all it needs. But I when it started hissing and making noises, I just had to see in a man that large, like a snake, because I saw the body. I had to look, and when I looked, he was looking right at me, and I would say it wasn't a man, it was the entity, and laughing, and I flew, like, I mean, I'm not exaggerating. I hit the wall so hard it knocked the breath out of me. It spun me upside down and slammed me on the floor. I got up. I grabbed the Bible because it was in my hands, and I never looked back up.
Wow.
Mom, after that,
that's why I told her not to look.
It's terrifying. The eyes are yes. And my fear, I believe, like, people like going in like that, and you're like, that's what I mean, like playing with things. I mean that just gives it, you don't know what you're playing with,
Right.
And me, I was a very faithful person, but I looked and I had fear instilled because it was, I saw things that the normal eye shouldn't have saw.
Oh, of course.
I mean, it was a grown man, and I was still trying to process like how this was happening and how I was going to, but it was like, but I looked, and it was just awful.
Yeah.
And
you just described my biggest nightmare. I'm terrified of snakes. You literally just to me described my biggest nightmare. Like, even my daughter teases me. I bought her a new phone this weekend, and she goes, "Hey, Daddy, look!" And I turn, and there's a picture of a snake. I'm like, "Why do you do this? Why do you do this?" Wow, that's absolutely terrifying. I'll say this though. Kind of a nice sentiment about it is, it's like, how do you not go through an experience with that and then have amazing faith afterwards? Like, no wonder your walk with God is so secure, because
absolutely, that's absolutely true.
Yeah, I mean, it's undeniable after that, right?
Yes, and that's the way I do.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
God before you want to begin.
So that's what we're hoping to bring to viewers, is to, like, with people, obviously that's okay, obviously sharing and so much of it, but I think it's huge. I think people should see that, because they need to know that exists. They need to find, God. I mean, God and Jesus, and I know there's other religions and stuff, but like he said, there's other gods, but we should no other God before me. He's a very jealous God, I mean, you need to see it.
Right.
I mean, you don't believe it. I'm like, we're going to get it.
Yeah, no, it's true. Yeah, no, and that is not something I want to risk. Yeah, no, absolutely.
You don't want
to see a snake. You don't want to see a snake. Snake man, no.
Right. So I guess, we don't play with Ouija boards. We don't do things like that to tempt it. What else other than that? Just try to establish a good faith,
Children shouldn't play with dead things.
Mm-hmm.
That would be my biggest thing to put out there to people. You shouldn't play with dead things. Just don't.
Because, all the children nowadays, you have this, I mean, I'm out of the loop a little bit, like there's Charlie, there's, I don't know. I don't watch
the Shadow Man, all these weird things.
Okay, yes,
all that.
Slender Man and all that stuff. But like, and then like when I was growing up, it was Bloody Mary, and then that
Bloody Mary
board, stuff like that.
Yeah.
My mom just terrified me of it. I can honestly say, I've never seen a Ouija board. Like my mom was terrified me. She said, anybody have houses, you better call me immediately. I'll come get you. I mean, and after going to exorcism, I just never went to friends' houses.
I get it. Yeah. Why?
I didn't. I was too afraid.
Have you ever had, and maybe this is an awkward question, hopefully your closest friends don't watch this or hear this, but have you ever had someone in your life like that you care about, a friend, a family member that like you feel like maybe they're at like high risk or something, and you had to have that conversation, like, man, I don't know, like if this is my place, but this feels a little like over susceptible?
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I'm sure you're psychic. So yeah, she kind of feels that.
I kind of know what I'm going into before I get there.
No, he said it's anybody like near you that you.
Not really anyone close.
Not
to
now,
me.
but
no.
Not their words. No.
Yeah.
So you're like real deal gifted, huh, Shema? Like you're like the whole nine. Like you're able to. Wow. I think it's really cool that you exist, but I think we're so fortunate to speak with you, because it's again, it's so unique that I think people they hear psychic or they hear exorcist and they immediately think like witchcraft or something crazy. It's like, I think it's amazing. You're a person that's in faith, you're a Christian, and you can still be those things and help.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I have my faith in God.
So you really, I mean, obviously this was your calling. Your first exorcism was at 10. And you walked in there feeling pretty secure in your faith with Christ. What were your influences? Was there like a moment you woke up and you were like, I know this is it? Or did you have parents that you said you came from a shaman, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
My mother, I'd been with my mother on a lot of, her cases and stuff. And I just knew there wasn't anything that I was afraid of.
Yeah.
If God be with you, like I said, what can be against you? And I always had that mindset, even from the time I was young. When I went in there, I felt like, if anything, they should be afraid of me.
I love it. I love it. That's great. That's awesome. Wow. Man, so, as far as the future, it seems like you obviously you had was it Ghost Hunter, Ghost Adventure? What was the episode?
Ghost Adventures.
Thank you, Ghost Adventure. Thank you. You are a ghost hunter. That's the thing. So that's super exciting. And I mean, in the future, do you think that like there'll be more opportunities in film or television to help show the world some of this stuff?
I hope so.
Yeah, absolutely. That's
well,
what
I'll ring the bell for you. I want to see it. I want to see more of it. I don't know if I want to see it in person, but but I'm a believer. I definitely want to see it go away, like you said.
Because it's you to think about taking all the scariness about it out. I mean, there's a person there who's asking for help.
Right.
And that's what it's about, is making sure that person's okay.
And it usually goes for the innocent and the really good people.
Really?
I mean, just about everyone you'll see, everybody talks about what a great person they were, how they helped everybody.
Wow.
They go for the good people.
I mean, because the devil, he doesn't bother what he doesn't.
Yeah, he's not going to scare away what he's already got.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, that makes sense. Wow. So maybe afterwards, after an exorcism, the person that was possessed, obviously it sounds like they went through a physical toll. They were kind of put in all sorts of positions and stuff. What is their life like afterwards like?
Great. Honestly.
Yeah,
I'm going to let her tell you about this lady. I'm not going to say her name.
Her last one, she's been in contact with her and she's doing great. And it was like the next day she sent her a picture. There was something that was special meeting there because she had exorcised 8 demons out of her. And she had like a figure 8 hair tie underneath her pillow. But she said that she was able to get outside the house, go outside alone. It was the first time she was able to like drive alone in a vehicle and felt like secure in years and without feeling anxiety and like oppressed. And she's doing great. I mean, she said she was laughing. She felt great. It was best she's felt forever. So, hearing that and of course you see and what they experienced and what they went through, and it's definitely a spiritual battle, so and who hasn't been in one,
Right. Oh my gosh. Right. Exactly. Yeah. And who couldn't benefit from a little bit of levity? You said it. You just said it. We've all been there. Like, but the fact that she hasn't been able to leave her house or been in a car. I mean, she was a prisoner,
She was.
Depression becomes before possession.
Right.
So, because it likes you to be alone and feel like you have that
isolate
hope and, like you wants you to break you down. So, you know what I mean? It makes you feel like you're going, it wants that because that's the way,
it gets in.
Yeah, to isolate you. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. So I guess community also, try to keep a tight community. Maybe that's your church or your family. Maybe that's helpful. But man, how scary of a thought. And I don't want to go down that too much because I'll scare myself. But like people that they could potentially be like misdiagnosed of mental health issues, of depression or whatever. Maybe they're struggling a spiritual issue and they're unaware,
Yeah. That's
a scary thought. But
I think it's important. It's good to. I mean, you can read your Bible at home, but read God's word. I mean, it's one book out of all the world. Your whole life,
Yeah.
I think it's important. Knowledge is power. I would,
Yeah.
Sure. Wow. Well, thank you both so much for sharing what you have shared. I feel like I peppered you with so many questions, but again, I'm fascinated by all of it. Maybe any final thoughts I'll ask you both too, and each of you, but I guess you know, any words of advice, like if you were to compel anybody or wanted to leave somebody with just keeping an open mind to this, or also where can they find you on social media to check out some of your awesome content? But, you know, just a final thought, maybe I'll start with you, Shema. I'll ask you first.
Well, they can reach me on Spiritual Battles. That's my page. And I would just tell everyone, just do not play with the dead.
Yeah.
Don't do it. Nothing good's going to come from it.
No.
Nothing good's going to come from it.
Let me I lied. I have another question for you. So we just celebrated Halloween, right? And you know, what do you think about that? Like, how do you participate?
Well, you got to remember what it originally was. It was All Hallows Eve. And it was the time of year that everybody whose family had died or passed away, that was when they prayed for them.
It's man that corrupts things.
It's man that turned it into Halloween.
And then, you know, then you have satanic cults that are trying to kill children and, you know, when they're trying to get candy, but, you know.
Right. But I like Halloween. I give kids candy.
Yeah, exactly. It's one of those things. I have a 3-year-old son, and I took him trick-or-treating, and he was excited, dressed him up like a tiger. But as I was doing it, I was like, this is a weird holiday. Like, you know?
It is, because people want to dress their children up as like demonic entities or murderers, mass murderers, when it was supposed to be about that in the beginning. No. So I think that was supposed
to be for just praying for those that
you lost. And then you cover, your faces so the spirits don't, see, because you were talking about, it's just out of respect, but then, and corrupted.
Yeah, no, it makes perfect sense. Yeah, total sense. And it's really interesting too. That's true. It's factual, but also it transcends like other like ethnicities. I know some Latin American countries do Day of the Dead, and it's the same thing. They put a picture up in memory of a past one, and same thing. It's a tribute to a loved one. It was never about like a goblin,
Yeah, now it's turned into like
they turned it,
like demonic Halloween. Now you can't even really go out on Halloween for your kids because you have to check all their candies because you're afraid something might be put in them.
Sure.
I search all my kids' candy.
Oh yeah.
I put my kids' candy away and already had bought them more and just replaced it, and they never knew.
Oh, there you go. There you go. I never thought of that.
That's what I did.
Yeah. Well, I guess, and I'll ask you the same question. Maybe just any final thoughts, and for everybody.
I like to say, Spiritual Battles Worldwide is my mother's Instagram page. If anyone has any questions, spiritually, or anybody needs help, or just please contact her. There's no stupid questions. I would encourage everyone to read the Word of God. That would love to, and ask questions. There is, like I said, there's no stupid questions. You know what I mean? So I think that it's good that there's like my mother can answer a lot of people's questions. Like yours.
Yes, I'm so glad you exist, and I'll include links to all of your social media. I'll keep that as well for everybody. Yes, I mean, without an expert, we don't have an answer. So absolutely.
But it does exist, and for the people out there that need help, but we were here to help them, so
and we don't charge.
Yeah.
Which is amazing. You're wonderful. Don't ever change. Thank you for existing.
Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. My pleasure. Thank you again so much. This has been fascinating for me. I hope I didn't ask too many random questions.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Again, True Story with John Gibson. Thank you again.
Thank you.